So, what makes you a believer on these NFTs?
First of all, I think we're only seeing the tip of the iceberg when it comes to how NFTs are being applied. And I think the most visible things are the things you said. People sort of look at it and say, ano ba yan? Animated GIF lang yan. Why is it so valuable? Or it's just a little bit of code or whatever. It's just a little piece of art. First and foremost, just because as a person you think that has no value for me, it doesn't mean that it has no value for other people. NFT is just an asset class, and it's a new kind of asset class. If I think about other existing asset classes that have been around for a long time, there are a lot of people who look at a painting and think, why the hell would anybody pay so much money for that painting? And yet for somebody who's really into that artist or really, digs that kind of style, they're willing to pay, whatever for that. One of my hobbies, for example, is watch collecting. Why would somebody pay $100 million for a Rolex Daytona just because it was worn by Paul Newman? For most people, they're like, it blows their mind. What value could that possibly have for everybody? But again, for collectors, this has huge value for them, right? So I think that's the one way to frame it, right? It's an asset class, and therefore you may not understand the asset class today, but that doesn't completely negate the value of that asset class because there are people that will see value in it. But the second thing also is that because what you're seeing, artwork, gifts, etc., this is currently the most visible application of NFTs. It's really just the tip of the iceberg, and we're really, really in early days for what are the possible applications and utilities for NFTs. An NFT is nothing more than just a digital unique item. It's something that represents something that's unique. Non-fungible simply means that it can't be replicated. When an NFT is unique, that means it will always be unique forever and ever. And so if you think about it, there are lots of other applications that are being discussed today or just starting to be discussed today that we haven't seen yet. So for example, I was just listening to this the other day on a podcast. They were talking about how NFTs could potentially be used as replacements for passports, because after all, if it is a digital unique item, it could easily represent you as a person in the same way that a biometric passport could. So there is technology that's already being discussed that are for anybody that looks a little bit deeper into what NFTs could potentially stand for. There's all kinds of applications which we're only just thinking about today. Now, try to imagine that in a gaming context. In a gaming context, how do you then see the utility for things like NFTs? Well, it's not just trivial things like animated GIFs or unique pieces of art, but it could also represent things like unique items or unique properties within games. This is where the metaverse stuff starts to get really exciting, because if you think about the future of Web 3.0, people are going to be living in virtual worlds as much as they are living in today's physical world. When you start to think that through, all of these other applications start to come out. Now, why am I particularly excited when it comes to gaming? Well, I think the gaming industry is always at the cutting edge of technology, especially when it has to do with anything in digital media. And gamers are usually some of the early adopters. If you want to try and predict what future behaviors in digital media are going to look like, or digital entertainment is going to look like, it's always a good idea to look at what gamers are doing, because chances are what the gaming industry is experimenting with today is going to be the norms for tomorrow.